Michael, 15, and Hannah, 36, fall in love. Suddenly the woman turns around and catches him spying. Michael panics and turns to run away. Michael was a student. One day when he came back from school, he suddenly felt sick and got off the bus. Hannah, the bus conductor, noticed the abnormality and followed him. At that moment, Michael felt faint and vomited all over the floor. Hannah helped him clean up his vomit. She also took him home. Michael was suffering from scarlet fever. This disease is highly contagious. When the family heard this, they immediately turned around and left the room. Their actions made Michael a little sad. He couldn't help but think of the gentle Hannah. Fortunately, Michael recovered soon afterwards. He found Hannah's place with flowers and wanted to thank her. Hannah was neither surprised nor surprised to see him. At the moment, she is ironing and talking to Michael. She doesn't realize that Michael is a man. It was only when Hannah saw Michael's testosterone-filled eyes that she reacted. And since this incident, Hannah's sexy body in the sunlight was always in Michael's mind. He found Hannah again, and Hannah directed Michael to help remove the coal as if nothing had happened. Hannah saw Michael's dirty face and wanted to help him take a shower. Michael stares at Hannah in disbelief. Hannah understands his thoughts and says she won't peek at him in the shower. But in fact, when Michael got up to get dressed, Hannah appeared behind him. Michael had his first impulse as their skin rubbed together. Under Hannah's tutelage, Michael grew more and more mature. The first thing he did after school was to run to Hannah's house. The two of them never spoke of love, but Michael thought Hannah was the love of his life. They agreed not to ask about each other's past, nor did they discuss their future plans. Just that after every intimate encounter, Hannah would ask Michael to read an article. Hannah seemed to enjoy listening to what Michael had to say more than reading. This quiet time is also the mark of their happiness. But no one's love is always smooth, let alone a love that is not accepted by the world. One day Michael missed Hannah and went to look for her on the bus. But Hannah pretended she didn't know him. She went back and was furious about it. As a young man, Michael had no shortage of courage. To him there is no shame in falling in love with Hannah. But Hannah doesn't feel the same way. She didn't want to be the subject of criticism. She just wants to keep her feelings under the darkness of the night. Michael couldn't help but cry after a big fight. It was then that he realized how much Hannah meant to him. Hannah calmed down and forgave him. The two of them made up as before. The rest of their lives remained peaceful and happy. Michael's birthday came soon after. His best friend threw a party for him and wanted to surprise him. But Michael was embarrassed and apologized to his friends for turning them down. Michael thought he was going to have a great day with Hannah, but Hannah was in a bad mood and didn't even know about his birthday. This made Michael a little angry. Hannah doesn't care and tells Michael to leave. Michael panicked, although he didn't want to apologize. He didn't want to lose Hannah either. Both of them realized their mistake after they calmed down. But what Michael didn't expect was, when he went to see Hannah again, Hannah had already moved out. There was nothing left of the whole house. His heart felt like it was being torn apart in pain, but he had to pretend as if nothing had happened, because this relationship was always about them both. Michael gradually came out of this relationship as time went by. He is now a college student at law school. Michael recently attended the trial of a war criminal with his teacher, but the target of the trial was Hannah. Michael was stunned. He didn't know that he would see Hannah again in such an occasion. It turns out that Hannah, who is German, was a member of the Nazis and worked in a concentration camp for a while. Now that the war was over, she had to pay for what she had done. Hannah admits to having participated in all the crimes the judge said she did. Her companions blamed Hannah for everything. She also claimed that Hannah had signed one of the torture orders. But Hannah immediately denied it, saying she was just a guard. She didn't have that much power. The judge decided to have Hannah write out her name, so that they could tell by the handwriting if she had done it. At this point, Michael, who was sitting in the gallery, remembered that Hannah couldn't write at all, because she'd only heard Michael talk about the book every time, and she had never read a book, even though Michael knew that Hannah hadn't done it. But now he didn't have the courage to stand up and help her clarify. Maybe that's the price of growing up and losing your courage. Hannah felt that illiteracy was the greatest shame to her, so she would rather die than write. In the end, Hannah was sentenced to life imprisonment. After the trial, the mentor sensed that something was wrong with Michael and found him. But Michael didn't dare to tell the truth about his past with Hannah. He only said that they had known each other. The mentor urged him to talk to Hannah, but Michael refused. To this day, he and Hannah have nothing in common. Often people are too concerned with their own feelings and ignore the truth of the matter. How can justice be done if justice is done in this way? So Michael decided to go and visit Hannah. But when he stood outside the door, he lost his courage, just like the first time he fled Hannah's house. Once again, he fled in disarray. The cold wind and snowflakes fell on Michael's body. drowning out the anger and grief he felt about the past. Michael has a new girlfriend, but he no longer feels the same way he did when he first met her. Years later, Michael is a lawyer. He was married for a while. Now he lives alone with his daughter. He still thinks of Hannah from time to time. Now that he's almost 50 years old, Michael reads a book and remembers how weak he was. But he didn't know how to face Hannah after all these years. So he decided to read the book to Hannah and recorded it and send it to her. Hannah was thrilled to hear Michael's voice again. She never thought they would cross paths again. Hannah felt that her life was not so hard when she heard Michael's voice. She even had the idea to learn how to read. She found the corresponding books in the library and followed Michael's readings, learning word by word. When life has a direction, time passes very quickly. A few more years passed. One day Michael received a letter. It read, in a crooked handwriting, "Thank you for last time. I really liked it." Michael knew it was from Hannah. Hannah would send him letters from time to time after that, but Michael didn't write back. He just kept sending her tapes. Hannah wasn't upset. Maybe she didn't expect Michael to write her back from the beginning. I thought they would go on in this strange way until the end of their lives. Because Hannah had been in prison for over 20 years with good behavior, so she's about to finish her sentence. The prison wanted Michael to come and get her. Michael didn't sleep this night. Michael thought about a love affair from decades ago. The next day when he walked into the prison, he recognized Hannah right away. By now, Hannah's hair was white. Her weathered face no longer had the glow it once had. When she saw Michael, she moved her lips awkwardly and squeezed out a stiff smile. Knowing her at ease, Michael reached out and gently shook her hand. Hannah was in a trance and thought they were back to the way things used to be. But the next moment Michael withdrew his hand. Hannah then realized they could never go back. Michael had made all the arrangements for Hannah's life when she got out. He'd help her try to adjust to the world. But to Hannah, Michael was the world to her. At this point, Michael, like Hannah before him, saw the relationship as a burden. The last thing he wanted to talk about was their past. Before Michael left, he promised to pick up Hannah next week. But when he came to pick her up with a bouquet of flowers, he was told that she was no longer there. It turns out that Hannah chose to hang herself the same day after Michael left. He saw Hannah's neat and clean room and realized that maybe she never wanted to leave. When the faith that held her together completely collapsed, she was even more hopeless. At that moment, an inexplicable and overwhelming sadness swept through Michael's heart. If they had never met or started, would everything have been different? In the end, Michael buried Hannah in the same place where they had their first date. He also finally told the secret he had buried for years. For the first time, the emotions that had overwhelmed him were exposed to the light of day. At this moment, Michael's heart felt more relieved than ever. Many people spend their lives redeeming themselves. Hannah will spend her life atoning for the crimes she committed in the concentration camp. Even after her release from prison, she was destined to find it difficult to forgive herself. So she chose to give up the shackles of her heart in this way in order to be freed.